Hey, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rachak with us, the ones, the apostles, Eliger Millstone, who like teacher and Sirdi, but Lachayaba. And man, I'm getting straight right into it. So, quick lesson, man, I want to do is, yes, Israel will rule. Israel is going to be that ruling nation over all other nations, man. You know, Israel is going to be the kings of the earth, you know, the nation of Israel. You know, yes, Israel is going to be ruling over Esau, so-called white man, Moab, so-called Chinese, Elam, so-called Indians, Russia, they go into Esau, which they're known as the inhabitants of Gog and Magog. But Russians are also Edomites, so, you know, we're also going to be ruling over them. Ammon, so-called Japanese. Ham, so-called Africans, which no, Africans aren't us. Israelites and Africans are totally different people. You know, Hamites and Israelites are not the same. Just because we're dark doesn't mean that, you know, we're the same people. That's the ignorance that a lot of these people believe in, which Esau completely made up himself. You know, so point is, man, we're gonna be ruling over all the other nations, man. You know, any other nation, man, we're gonna be that you read in the scriptures, which yes, they line up with the countries today. You know, we're gonna be ruling over Ishmael, so-called Arabics. You know, the so-called Middle Easterns, like Iran. Everyone, man, Israel's gonna be ruling over. So, proof of that, because, you know, you got a lot of Christians out here who say, oh, you know, that's not true. That's not true. You know, God is gonna, everyone's gonna be equal. Well, that's not true, because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, he set up a nation to rule over all other nations, a nation to be above all other nations, man. So that's not true. Everyone is not equal. Even all Israelites aren't equal. The Lord, he has his favorites as well. And he has ones that are going to be above others, even in the government of the nation of Israel and the kingdom of heaven. So it says, Revelation 2 and 25, this is Yahweh Shai speaking. It says, but that which ye have already hold fast, that which ye have already hold fast till I come. Yeah, this is the Lord speaking unto the Israelites, you know. And what do we have? What do we have already that we're holding fast? The truth. You know, the truth of the scriptures of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. You know, this gospel. This is what we're holding fast until he comes back. So it says, next verse 26, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. Yeah, so him that overcomes, I overcomes what? These perils to come and these evils to come upon Babylon in these end times that we're currently in. We are in the end times, but there's going to be a point where, you know, we reach that climax. So what are the things, you know, the elect's going to overcome? Which, of course, you're going to have some that are martyrs, but ultimately they are going to overcome because they're going to maintain their faith unto the end of trusting Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. So those who are martyrs, those are going to be the first ones who are raised up for Yahweh Shai. You know, those who die for righteousness' sake, you know. So ultimately they're going to overcome too. But also the ones that the elect to, make it out until the end. And I mean that, they make it out to see the return of Yahweh Shai, you know. Hey, they're gonna endure Jacob's trouble, The Lord's gonna protect them, they're gonna endure these wars that come upon earth, famines, pestilences, all that. The Lord's gonna give them the spirit and the power to overcome all these perils and evils that come upon the earth in these end times we're dwelling in. So it says, and keepeth my works unto the end. Yeah, the works, doing this work of Yahweh Bashem Yashai, being a servant unto him. Constantly, feeding the sheep, following after Lord's commandments to the best of our ability. Doing what Yahweh Bashem Yashai commanded us, the works. So it says, and keepeth my works until the end. Yeah, so those who do his works until the end, and they don't faint. To him will I give power over the nations. Yeah, we know there's going to be a governing body. We know Israel is ultimately going to rule over the other nations, but, you're going to have Israelites who have more power, over other Israelites. What I mean by that, first, of course, you're going to have King David, which is going to be below Yahweh Shai. King David is going to be basically the top king, which is under Yahweh Shai. Then, you're going to have the 12, which is under King David. Then you're going to have the 144,000. Then you're going to have the rest of the elect, the 1/3. And those, first and foremost, the Lord's going to get power over the other nations. So, and then it says, verse 27, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I have received on my Father. Yeah, and just as Yahweh Shai received, the rod of iron to rule over all the other nations, we're going to receive it too. That rod of iron, it symbolizes complete domination and rulership over these other nations, man. Us having that rod of iron over these other nations, it symbolizes them being in complete subjection under us in Yahweh Bashem Yashai. And to prove, and it says, I will give in the morning star. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. Yeah, and to prove that Yahweh Shai was given that rod of iron, let's go to Psalm 2 and 8. It says, or 7, it says, I declare the decree Yahweh has said unto me, thou art my son, this day I have begotten thee. Yeah, speaking about Yahweh Shai. It says, verse 8, ask of me, and I will give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Yeah, so that symbolizes Yahweh Shai, man, being given a rod of iron to rule over all these other nations. Let me see some new ball. I'll get that in a second. But yeah, that proves right there that Yahweh Shai, which the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shai is his true name, his true Hebrew name, which are the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yashai. They speak Hebrew. That's the language of the heavens. So going to the Paleo Hebrew, his name is Yahweh Shai. So reading again, Revelation 2 and 27, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I have received my Father. Yeah, so if apparently all nations are going to be equal in the kingdom of heaven, then how is this prophecy going to be fulfilled? Who is the nation of Israel going to be ruling over? You know, if all nations are going to be equal and in line together in the kingdom of heaven, that shows you that's a complete lie, you know. Fabricated by the Roman Catholic Church. So yeah, let's go to Isaiah 14:1. For the Lord Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob, and yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. Yeah, so why? How come it didn't say the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, Esau, Ammon, Moab, Elam, Ishmael, Ham? He only said Jacob, and yet choose Israel. You know, a Christian, or, you know, these heathen out here, man, they can't answer that. Because, you know, they want to be a part of, you know, this, they want to be part of the salvation, which really, what do these heathen need salvation from, man? They're living in paradise. Especially Esau, man, he's living in his paradise right now. So, you know, a Christian can't answer that. How come the scriptures never say that the Lord's going to have mercy on, you know, these other nations? He only says Israel and Jacob. So it says, and the strangers shall be joined with them. Yeah, those strangers represent those scattered amongst the other nations. You know, the Israelites who were scattered amongst the other nations, because that's a curse as well, that will be scattered amongst the other nations for our disobedience unto Yahweh Bashim Yashai. You know, when we went off, that will be one of the curses. To prove that, let's go to, I believe, Ezekiel 5, and I think it's Ezekiel 5. Yeah, Ezekiel 5:5, it says, thus say the Lord Yahweh, this is Jerusalem. I have set in the midst of the nations and countries that are round about her. Yeah, so the Lord said that he will set them. He will set Jerusalem. Not every Israelite will ultimately, you know, be mixed in, you know, for a lack of better words, into these other nations, you know, look like them. But it says what? Verse 6, and she has changed my judgments into wickedness more than the nations, and my statutes more than countries that are round about her. For they have refused my judgments and statutes, and I have walked in them. Yeah. And let's go to, I believe that will be Baruch 2. Baruch 2. Well, not Baruch 2. Give me a second, brothers. Okay, yeah, and we can also bring out James 1:1. It says James 1:1, James, a sermon on the Most High and of the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. Yeah, how come that shows you? You know, yeah, the 12 tribes of Israel were scattered abroad amongst these other nations. You know, going to Acts 2:5, there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. So yeah, that shows you that Israel was scattered amongst these other nations, and that was a curse, really. You know, that's really a curse, man, for us to be scattered amongst the other nations. You know, and then to look like them, because you know, once you become part of these other nations, you know, you're eventually gonna have a heathen wife, you know, or a heathen concubine, you know, and then you're gonna get have sex, have children, and then those children are gonna have, you know, a heathen, which those children will still be Israelites, because we know by the fathers, by your father, your father's lineage determines if you're an Israelite or not. So you know, the Israelite man's son is gonna have a heathen wife, and then you know they're gonna look like more like the heathen, you know. Then what? That Israelite son is gonna have a heathen wife, and then boom. Next thing you know, you're gonna look completely like a heathen. And that's one of the curses. But what? Like it says, going back. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Yeah, so there's gonna be a point of time when those who were scattered amongst the other nations, you know, the Israelites who were scattered amongst the other nations, they're gonna come back. And you know, they're gonna dwell in the kingdom of heaven, you know, and of course we're all gonna receive those new bodies, man. So, you know, we're not gonna look like completely like the other heathen anymore. So it says Isaiah 14:2, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord Yahweh for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and shall rule over their oppressors. Yeah. Who's our oppressor right now? You know, who are we captive to? That's Esau. And we are also captive to these other nations at one point. All these other nations, man, we are captive to at one point. So they're going to be our captives as well. And, you know, we're going to be oppressing them this time. You know, we're going to be ruling over our oppressors. So, you know, again, to bring out that point, if all nations are going to be equal, then how is this prophecy going to be fulfilled? You know, who is the nation of Israel going to be ruling over if all nations are going to be, you know, with them in the kingdom? See? A Christian can't answer that. You know, they're going to keep bringing out these Gentile scriptures, which those particular scriptures they're bringing out are always referencing the Israelites. You know, the Israelite foreigners who are scattered amongst these other nations, who are looking like the other nations, and who once took a part of, you know, those other nations' doctrines, you know, in philosophies, you know, their way of living, which is off. And, you know, that's fornication and, you know, committing idolatry. So, you know, every time these Christians bring out, you know, these Gentile scriptures to try to get them into the mix and, you know, to try to bring them into the fold of salvation. And I'm speaking about, you know, these Edomite Christians, man. Every time they bring it out, they're really, man, they're bringing out the scriptures that the Lord promised for the Israelite strangers, you know, Israelite foreigners, Israelite Gentiles, you know. He didn't promise any of these promises he made with Israel for the heathen. So let's go to Jeremiah 30 and 16. It says, therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. Yeah, so that's the point. All they that devour thee shall be devoured, you know. And that's what Esau's doing, man, this current time, you know. And then it says, all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. Yeah, and all these other nations, man, are our adversaries as well. You know, because at the end of the day, man, they're with Esau to take us down. You know, I know that's in Psalms. Damn, what's up one scripture? It's in Psalm, I think, it's not. I think it's Psalms 80, I think 82. Or Psalms 80. Give me a second, brothers. It's in. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Psalms 83. Okay. It says, this proves that the other nations are also our enemies as well. The start of verse 1 of Psalms 83, it says, keep not thou silence, O Most High, O power, and hold not thy peace, be not still, O power. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Yeah, they got pride, they got proud. And it says, verse 3, they have taken hidden crafty counsel against thy people. Yeah, we know the Lord's people is the Israelites. And it says, and consulted against thy hidden ones. So this proves right here that these other nations are Esau, you know, as a mastermind beyond his crafty counsel, you know, taken up against us, and as well as the other nations. You know, they want us to be eliminated as well. So this right here proves that other nations, man, they're taking crafty counsel against us. Their actions already prove it, but this scripture right here proves that they're, you know, really doing it. So it says, verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Yeah, man, there's a reason why we're mainly targeted. You know, there's a reason why, you know, we're the most oppressed nation in the world right now. You know, so-called Native Americans, Latinos, and Negroes. You know, there's a reason why we're the most oppressed right now. Because, you know, if we weren't oppressed, Esau knows if he didn't oppress us, then eventually we will be greater than him. You know, and you know, we us Israelites, man, we will be on the top. That's why he tries so hard to oppress us. You know, that's why he tries so hard to take out this truth, take away heritage from us, because he knows our heritage, you know, and the truth is our power, man. You know, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is our power. So, you know, if he can take that right from us, you know, he pollutes us with these religions. You know, he indoctrinates us